Hi everyone, welcome to lesson 2, a continuation on phoneme elements and their symbols. Same keywords, atom, element, periodic table, symbol group, period and atomic number, all vitally important. Okay, today's knowledge check is not true or false. You can use your periodic table to help you, which you'll find in the booklet. Pause the video now and complete the 8 questions on the knowledge check. Okay, welcome back. I'm going to go through the answers. So, in the rows in the periodic table, they are called the periods. The columns are called the groups, giving you the answer early. The elements are placed in order of atomic mass. The symbol for helium, remembering that it's capital H, small e. Potassium is capital K. Phosphorus is a capital P. The number of elements in period 2 is 8. And the element in group 2, period 2, is beryllium. Give yourself a score out of 8. Hopefully that was fairly straightforward. These were questions that were looked at during our last lesson as well. Okay, so we are still looking at our periodic table, but we're also starting to look at the sort of design features of the periodic table as well. So, just a reminder, the periodic table is the elements, and they are placed in order of the atomic number. They have different symbols. The rows are called periods and the columns are called groups. And again, you can have another go at trying to remember the 20 elements of the periodic table. So, moving on then. Some patterns that we need to be aware of. The periodic table is divided into 2 main sections, and that's the metals and the non-metals. And we need to know the properties of these. Go to the next page. So, this table at the top is really important. So, metals are shiny, hard, conduct electricity, conduct heat and have high boiling points. Non-metals are the opposite, so they are dull, brittle. Brittle just means that they can break easily. And they are good insulators of electricity and heat, so they keep in, and they've got low boiling points. I have made a resource that I'm going to show you, and I will attach a copy of this on the independent learning, and it is a picture format, and hopefully you can see that briefly, of the metals and non-metals. So for the metals, they are shiny, strong, conduct heat, conduct electricity, and they're solid at room temperature. And for the non-metals, they are dull, they insulate heat, insulate electricity, and they are brittle, i.e. they break easily. Just a few images to help you try and remember the difference between the metals and the non-metals and the properties of this. I will attach that, so apologies if you couldn't see it. Okay, looking at task 2 for this lesson, drawing the line that divides the metals and non-metals. So this periodic table is a full periodic table, slightly different from the one we saw in lesson 1. and it's drawing that line of divide, and it just starts in exactly the same place, but we're just further to the right side of the periodic table. And it just simply steps down like so, until you get to the bottom. And again, anything to the right of the steps are still non-metals, and anything to the left of the steps are metals. So that's how we divide our periodic table. Okay, have a go at the knowledge and application check, pausing the video. This will be good practice again for using our periodic table. And I also want you to have a go at the extension activity, so describing the differences between metals and non-metals. So just as a few pointers, okay, to help you answer the question. Think about the properties of metals and non-metals. And also think about where they are located on the periodic table. I'll leave that on there whilst you answer the rest of the questions, and then we'll go through the answers. Pause the video now and complete the knowledge and application check. Okay, welcome back. I'm now going to go through the answers. So, the rows in the periodic table are called the periods. The columns are called the groups. Approximately how many elements are there? There are approximately 100. The symbol for hydrogen is simply a capital H. It must be a capital, very important. Sodium is capital N, lowercase a. The number of groups is 8. The number of elements in period 3, 8. Elements in place on order of atomic number. Name the element in group 2, period 2. That is beryllium. Group 0, period 1. That is helium. 7 metals. It just says state 7 metals, so you can state any of the metals from either the big periodic table or our 20 elements periodic table. I'm going to use the 7 from the 20. That's lithium, beryllium, sodium, magnesium, potassium, calcium, and aluminium. The group and period of fluorine, group 7, period 2. Atomic number of carbon, 6. The element with atomic number of 20 is calcium. 7 non-metals, you can choose any from the non-metal side of the periodic table. So hydrogen, helium, boron, carbon, oxygen, neon, fluorine. You can have in there sulfur, phosphorus, silicon. The number of elements in each of the first 3 periods. So in period 1 there are 2, and in period 2 and period 3 there are 8. Give yourself a score out of 16. If you are still struggling with reading the periodic table, I would advise you to go back to lesson 1 and recap that before you move on. Having a look at the extension activity at the bottom, describe the differences between the metals and the non-metals. So, you can do this in bullet point form, or you can write a paragraph. But for each point that I make, give yourself a tick. So I would start with the properties, so the differences between the metals and the non-metals. You can also do it as a bit of a T diagram, like so. So metals and non-metals. So metals are shiny, non-metals are dull. Metals are strong, non-metals are brittle. Metals are found on the left side of the periodic table. Non-metals are found on the right side of the periodic table. Other properties that would have been accepted: non-metals are good insulators of electricity and heat, whereas metals are good conductors of heat and electricity. So it's just writing down those properties that we've learned during this lesson about the differences between metals and non-metals. And that brings us to the end of lesson 2.